Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kennesaw State Dynasty here on College Football 25. We're officially into year 3. It's the year 3 preseason 2026, and we're going to get started here with setting up our recruiting board, scouting some prospects, and offering some scholarships. You can see here, Jeremiah Smith opens as the Heisman favorite this season. Teammate Carnell Tate there, 2 receivers there from the Buckeyes in the top 3. Nico Iamaleava, quarterback there from Tennessee at number 2. And then Antonio Williams and Connor Weigman rounding it out there. But as I said, we are going to start here with getting into the recruiting board. Very excited for this process as we get over here to the prospect list. And for recommended, we see a lot of 2-stars here. We've only signed 1 2-star so far in this dynasty, that coming in our past class, which ranked 51st nationally, 25 signings total. I think 20, high school recruits, 5 of them coming in the transfer portal. But we'll just kind of go through by state at this point. Of course, we'll start with our home state of Georgia. And our big focus this year, really looking for quality over quantity. We've kind of done a good job filling out our roster. Now at this point, it's kind of honing in on some of the best players that we can bring in. So we'll start here at quarterback. We did bring in a quarterback last year, a 3-star out of Georgia in Deion Kendricks. And here we see we have a few 3-stars interested out of Georgia. Keenan Fournette out of Cartersville, Scrambler, Greg Clapp, athlete out of Blue Ridge, and McDonald down here, Marvin McDonald out of Rome, Georgia, field general. Jose Toll improviser, 4th on his, and then Tua Taufo, a scrambler. I think that's the best I could do on the pronunciation there. So with quarterback, it's really hard to differentiate who to go after. We have 2 scramblers here at the top. I think we'll add Fournette, and we might as well add Clapp at this point, 3rd on both of their boards. Would like to add a quarterback in this class, even though we already have 2 underclassmen, but that's a spot we're going to keep targeting pretty much every class. Now at running back here, David Pitts, receiving back. 3-star, definitely need to add a receiving back. Only 4 running backs right now on the roster. And I think we are going to lose 1 to graduation, that being Quay Ashley. Then we have Orlando Wiley here, another receiving back, an athlete. We'll add him first on his board. Max Sweat, a power back. We already have 2 power backs, so doesn't really need to be our focus, although he is an athlete. So I wonder what other versatility he offers. Another athlete here in J.D. Cook, although he's an elusive back. A lot of backs, in the top 1,000 interested. A lot of here in the state of Georgia. So how many? We already have 2 to the board, 2 receiving backs. So I guess now we can afford to maybe add some elusive guys. Sweat there was the power back. Titus Ankra is a power back. Mondo receiving. Nick Gums elusive. I think we'll add Gums, Mondo, and Cook. Get to scouting them, but for now we'll move on. Fullback, we have anyone here in Georgia. We have 1 3-star, Daryl Swain, blocking at 6 foot 236. Add him, go over to receiver. Would like to add a receiver in this class. We have Shaq Bouye here, 6'1", 190 out of Powder Springs, Georgia. 2nd on his board. 7th on Fasano here. We're just focused on guys for now that were kind of up on their board. Tevin Bradford, sophomore JUCO at 6'4", 185. Ryan Rechsteiner, 3rd on his. He's a deep threat. We don't have any route runners yet, so I think Spencer Cedar here. I know they don't typically come back as the best athletically, but I have to think, they were going to have good route running, maybe present some upside in the slot, as we've really lacked, a clear option out of the slot. So I think we'll add both of these guys here, and we'll just go ahead and scout them right off the rip. See, lower guys on the board. Iorio, he's at 1864 nationally. Starts off with 89 agility, 88 acceleration, only 83 speed. So, that does kind of tie into what I was saying. They typically aren't the most athletic, and I was liking what I saw early on, but 83 speed, you can't bring in a receiver at that size or at that speed. So now we'll try Hunter Montgomery. 87 acceleration, 84 speed. Again, such low speed. So I think with that, we're probably out on route runners just based on what we saw there. Going back over to Georgia, though. So I guess we will go in on some of those deep threats that we saw. I wish it showed, that we did scout Iorio at this point, because there's no way to tell until you add him to the board. You go over and see that. So as far as receivers go, we already have Bouye, who we're going to keep on the board. I'm kind of tempted to add Bradford here, the JUCO guy. We hit on Monty Sahara, a JUCO receiver who had that physical tendency. He came back pretty good. So I think we'll go ahead and add Rechsteiner, love that name, and Bradley as well, our starting points here at receiver. But, we're only in the state of Georgia at this point, and we're already up to 11 targets on the board. It'll get slimmer as we go along. Johnny Pepper here. Thomas Kendricks, the only tight end that's above a 1-star that is interested in Kennesaw State. We'll add him possession tight end. Definitely want to address the offensive line this year. We have Donovan Cormier, pass protector, Thad Johnson, power, and Santiago Scioli, agile. All those that were top 5 are below on those guys, though. Here, Kenya Abel, he is a JUCO, Let's move over to guard to see how many guys we're working with over here. Really not many in terms of 3 stars. We're going to hold off on 2 stars. We're probably not going to add any of them to the board just yet. Those guys tend to, hang around a little bit, so we can probably target them, in season if we miss out on some of these higher priority, higher ranked guys. So I think here at tackle we'll just add these 3, even though we're not the highest on their board. And they'll maybe come back, look at the JUCO guy. I think JUCOs tend to, hover around a little bit longer. Now go back to guard here, and we have 3 3-stars interested. Quincy Smolko, a JUCO, David Bobo, and then Deion Feely. We're first on his board, so we'll just add him. Go over to center. Rayshawn Surratt, way up on the board at 671 overall, would be up there for the highest player we signed. Also have Marshall Isaacs and Daryl Candidate, and it's just so hard to differentiate. You really just have to go on tendency. I wish we had, their athletic testing. I keep saying this. Surratt just being that we're 6th, we'll go down to these guys. We're a little bit higher, 2nd on Isaac's board. But Surratt way up there, 671. I think we'll just take a flyer on him, see if we can get in the running. And now at DN, a couple guys here just outside the top 500. Emmanuel Dre, JUCO run stopper. John Hacker, an athlete, power rusher. I think we'll add him. Gage Pitts, speed rusher. We definitely could use one of those as an underclassman. Jalen Butcher, 3rd on his board, power rusher. Armand Eaton, 7th. And then Eric Funches, another JUCO here. Out of Kennesaw, Georgia. I think maybe someone will check back on. Another JUCO down here. So a bunch of JUCO DNs. We just have to prioritize these guys up here first, I think. And Dre is way up on the board at 515 for a JUCO. I wonder if that correlates to his ratings or not. I think we will just add him and scout him, see if he comes back as a gem. Scout him first. He gets 86 strength, 77 acceleration, and he does turn out to be a gem with 84 block shed, 82 hit power, 65 speed, has recoup ability, a couple mentals. So I think he's someone that could play on the inside, maybe if not at DN. And what was his strength at? 80 something, 86 strength. Someone who probably provides inside and out versatility there on the defensive line. So I am glad we did go and scout him, because like I said, we're not really going to focus on 2 stars and JUCOs at this point. Just going to try and get in on the running for some of these high school guys. Gage Pitts will get in on. Then we have Pierre Winbush here, a run stopper. Might as well add him as well. And Butcher, we're 3rd on. Eaton, we're 7th on, both power rushers. I think we already have a power rusher on the board there. And Dre, what's Hacker? I think Hacker also a power rusher. Now we'll go down to D tackle, just working our way here through the state of Georgia. Benji East, the top guy who's interested, although a JUCO, so we'll come back on him, look at other states. Linebacker, we definitely need to bolster our linebacking core. We have a few young guys waiting in the wings, but we can't bank on them, having good progression as we go along here. Not really interested in a power rusher at this point. Not really an off-ball guy. Pass coverage, though, Delvin Jackson. We'll add him. And then Delvin Swaim here, 464 on the national board. Run stopper out of Atlanta. Our board now up to 24 out of 35, getting up there already. Another JUCO here, pretty high on the board at 609, Randy Kell. We'll add him. George Anku, a run stopper. What about these guys? Any pass coverage or field general? We do here, but they're lower on the board. Josh Sosa, Jimmy Brooks. I think we'll just look elsewhere for now. Only 10 spots left on our national board. Not really doing great efficiency-wise at this point. And only 3 3-stars in the state interested. Nathan Potts here, slot. Sam Kareem, slot. Marcus Butler, man-to-man. We'll add Butler, and then we'll add Potts here, a little bit higher on his board compared to Kareem. Now at safety, a couple of JUCO guys here in Toulouse, Saunders. So we'll just go with George Whiteheart now, hybrid. Now over to strong safety. And we have Abdul Horner, zone. Dominic Sledge, run support. Doug Bargava, zone. And Dorian Leo, hybrid. And we already did add a hybrid safety to the board. We already have one on the roster. I think run support is something we need to bring in. I don't think we've signed a run support. And Dominic Sledge, that's a great name for a run support safety. We don't need to look at special teams. We have freshmen, I think, at both spots. So we're pretty set there. So that's 29 targets already out of the state of Georgia. Let's see how Florida's going. Nothing really out of the gate so far. I think for Georgia, we'll just sort by interest, although there is a lot. So maybe better off going by position. I think to start, we'll try and sort some of these guys out, see if we want to remove anybody. I think running back, we have a bunch of guys here, so we'll try and see who we like more than the others. 78 juke, 76 spin, 92 speed, and J.D. Cook there, elusive back out of Powder Springs, a gem. Now we have Daryl Mondeau, receiving back, 90 acceleration, 90 speed, 75 catching, 88 agility. So pretty good numbers there for a receiving back. Elusive back again here, Nick Gums, 87 speed, 89 agility, 88 acceleration, and he turns out to be a bust. So we have Cook here, who's a gem elusive back. We'll go ahead and just take Gums off the board, a bust. 2 other running backs here. We'll just leave them receiving backs. I think we'll just go ahead and offer Cook, being as how he's the gem out of the bunch so far. At receiver, we'll scout this JUCO guy, Tevin Bradford. 89 jumping, 88 speed, 80 spec catch, 75 catch in traffic, 75 short route. Not the worst. Pretty good prospect, but for JUCOs, I kind of bank on that gem development if I'm going to really, be interested from the jump. So I think Bradford will remove just for the sake of creating space on our board for now, but definitely not a bad prospect by any means. Here we'll scout some of these tackles that we weren't really too high on their board. We're 8th right now for Johnson, 73 run block power, 73 impact, 66 speed, and he does turn out to be a gem, so we'll go ahead and offer him. Although a lot of competition up there from some SEC schools. Santiago Scioli, 80 strength, 68 speed, 77 for run and pass block finesse, 66 run block. Pretty solid prospect. What about Donovan Cormier here? 75 pass block, 76 impact, and he does get gem as well. So we'll go ahead and offer him and Johnson. And even though Scioli isn't the worst ratings wise, I think Johnson and Cormier just higher priority. And we just need to kind of create space on the board. So that's what we're doing at this point, just kind of comparing prospects, see who we want to pursue over the others. I think Grayshawn Surratt here, who is really high on the national board at 671. Give him a scout, 83 pass block power, only 73 for run block power, 79 impact, 74 lead block. And he comes back as a bust. So we're already pretty low on his board, and he's a bust. We'll remove him, create some more space. And now here at DN, definitely need to get one of these guys off the board probably. We have Hacker. Dre is a run stopper. So is Pierre Winbush here. So if he doesn't turn out to be anything special, maybe we'll take him off. But we're already pretty low already for ours. He comes with 84 strength. Not the worst. A pretty solid player. But you just really wonder what the pass rush is at. Leave those linebackers for now. I think now at this point we still have 10 spots to work with. We can kind of dip back into Florida. And that hopefully gives us enough versatility, enough flexibility on the board to add enough players that we would like from this state. Let's bounce around a couple other ones. We have Tennessee, who's a close school, maybe kind of close to our pipeline. We've had a few commits from there over the course of this dynasty. Really no one of note interested. We have a running back here, 2-star, a 3-star linebacker it looks like, and then an athlete, Josh LaRue, scrambler quarterback, and then more guys down here like 4th and 6th on their interest board, so I don't know about that. What about South Carolina? Anything from there? I think we've had a couple commits from South Carolina, a couple 2-stars, a couple 3-stars here. Quincy McNitt, speed rusher. Willie Malik, D tackle, run stopper, 6'5", 324. Pretty good size there on the interior. 3-star receiver, 3-star D tackle. I think we'll just look in Florida first, but South Carolina and Tennessee, maybe some guys we'll be interested in. But for now, we'll just focus on Georgia and Florida to kick off our recruiting this year. We'll go by position now in Florida. We have a 3-star here, but 7th on his board, Kevin Miles, improviser. Amani Udizi, improviser. Don't need to go after any of these guys, but they do have a 2-star, the 2nd overall player on the board, Isaac Blum. Clemson, Alabama, Florida State, his favorites there out of Bradenton, Florida. One of the top recruits in the nation at running back. They do have a 3-star here, Leo Boyette, 11-11 on the national board. We'll add him. Fullback, I would like to find a fullback. I think we'll add Zay Sanko here, blocking. First on his board at receiver. They have a couple guys up here, Stan Pickering and Christian Sweezy. Sweezy, a route runner. We'll add him and scout him real quick. Want to see what he comes back as. 92 speed. So the best speed so far of a route runner we've had. And he does come back as a gem, but just 61 deep route, medium at 71. And we don't get to see the short route, but he's a route runner, so you would think at least the short is good. But he is a gem, Christian Sweezy. I did express my desire to maybe pick up a gem wide receiver prospect, but at this point now only 7 spots left on the board, and this isn't typically the way I go about it, but I did want to hone in on our pipeline states of Georgia and Florida, and then revisit other states if we had the room. So Alani Jones, another JUCO guy, I'm really tempted to scout him too because he's 801 on the national board, but we really can't afford that right now. We only have 100 hours left to work with. Really need to save some for offering some scholarships. At tight end, they have Damian Sledge, 3-star blocking. We're 3rd on his list. And Leon Lamb, 6'1", 243 possession, but he is an athlete. And then 5th on the boards here of Jamie Rios, vertical threat, Toby Potts, and Max Flanagan. And on our board, we had just, one tight end. So I think we will add one of these guys. I do like blocking tight ends, but they're just so unathletic, so I don't know about that. Maybe more athletic here coming out of Florida. So Rios, vertical threat, 5th on his board. Potts 5th on his. And we already have that vertical threat we got to commit last year, so I think we could go for blocking or possession. And with Sledge here, 6'2", 258, kind of something we don't have in our tight end room right now. With that blocking tendency, we'll add him on the offensive line. Only a few 3-stars here. Bottom 5 on their list or worse. A few 3-stars here at guard. Pretty much all JUCO guys. We'll come back and revisit them during the season. And center, we'll add Mateo Ionbadejo here out of Fort Lauderdale. We're first on his, now just 5 target spots left. As we work over here to defense, let's just go back to overall recruiting board here, see if we're like overpopulated. We did a pretty good job here on offense. We're not really overpopulated at any spot, just 2 quarterbacks. Although we probably could add, stand to remove one of these running backs. I think we have to scout these receiving backs, although only just 100 hours to work with. I don't know if we can really afford this compare and contrast anymore. At the end, I think we'll stand pat. We have 4 guys there. We need D tackle. We have 3 linebackers, just 2 corners, a couple safeties. So I don't think we really need to add any D ends from Florida. Definitely need D tackle though. Look at linebackers, secondary, but like I said, we only have a few spots left to work with. D end, I think we'll just bypass for now, even though these guys from Florida do tend to be pretty good. Deontay Abraham, a run stopper. D tackle, they do have a guy here, Stanley Shockey, and we committed Zeke Shockey out of Florida back in year 1. Now trying to get Stanley Shockey here out of Pompano Beach, Florida, 6'3", 292 run stopper. Anything here at linebacker, just 9th on his board, 8th on his, but an Aquanu, probably more of a D end with that power rusher tendency. Same here with Woodhead. Middle linebacker tend to be the better off-ball guys. As we have Mitch Whitted here, 6', 216 field general. Manu Boozer, 6'1", 226. I just really don't like that size on the middle. You want someone a little more imposing, more physical. Jared D'Imperio, 6', 236. Run stopper. Really wish he was a field general. We have Taj Levine here, but he's a JUCO. I think we'll add D'Imperio. Go over to corner now. A few 3-stars. We have Strauss here, 5th on his board. Earl Strauss, zone out of Jacksonville. Just sort by interest at this point. And Strauss looks like of all the 3-stars, we were highest for him. Or maybe Jose Handy here, but we'll just go Strauss. We saw him first, which leaves 2 targets now for safety. Wood. He is a 3-star hybrid, but 6th on his board. We'll just bypass that for now. Now at strong safety, we have Joel Carmona. We are first on his, so we will add him. I think we'll leave it like that for now. So now we're at 34 out of 35. We'll go back to our recruiting board, see where we need to kind of get some more depth at. We have 1 more spot to work with. Like I said, we could stand to maybe take one of these backs off the board, but I don't really know who we would do at this point. Kind of same here with fullback, but we do want to start offering some scholarships. I think that's a good way to get a jump early on in recruiting, but it just comes to differentiating who we want to offer these scholarships to, which is kind of hard to do after before scouting, and we don't really have any spots to scout. So I think we got to do more focus here on defense. Seeing that Shockey is our only D tackle on the board, I think we'll just go ahead and offer him one out of necessity. We'll scout him probably early on. Hopefully, if we have enough resources, we'll see what he comes back as. And now at corner, I don't know if it's best, just to offer all these guys, see what happens. And at safety, we have Whitehart, Sledge, and Carmona, 2 run support guys. Like, I would really love to scout Sledge and Carmona. We'll just go by position again here. See, first we'll go back to the actual prospect list, and we'll see who we're going to add with this last spot. We'll just sort by interest. And like I said, we're not going to really focus on 2-stars at this point. We already have Feely added to the board. Really just looking for a 3-star out of state, like Massachusetts. We're not reaching all the way out there. Then we have Manu Boozer, who we saw, middle linebacker. And he's a field general, so $9.99 on the actual board. I think we will add him and scout him real quick, even though I did say we don't really want to scout anybody right now, but want to check him out. Only 64 block shed as a field general, so already I think I'm out. I'm not even going to indulge further. You see the 1 trait, and that's enough, especially if he was a freshman, that'd be something different, but he's coming over as a junior JUCO. So I think 64 block shed is enough to kind of tell me we're not going to really want to pursue him. So we'll come back to the national board, see who's going to occupy that last spot. Really just looking for a 3-star. We have Jose Calcaterra here, blocking tight end from Texas. Devin Kennedy from Michigan. Angel Procise, JUCO center out of PA. Now moving here, we're 2nd on these guys' boards. Lance Gentry out of the home state here of New Jersey represent, but not going all the way up there in our recruiting trails, that is. Going to try and just stay here in the southeast region kick up to the Midwest, as it is Josh Terry's pipeline, but still, like I said, just trying to focus down south for now in the opening phases. And we have Ben Lemur here out of South Carolina, 8'10 nationally, and South Carolina, Tennessee, 2 states outside of, Georgia and Florida that we don't mind venturing off to. Another in-state safety here, Abdul Horner. But I think we're pretty set on safeties at this point. I'll just keep going down. Quarterback here, Fournette already on the board. Same here with Clapp. Those 2 guys, we might want to scout them because we have to figure out which one of them we want to pursue. So I think we will go with that guard from South Carolina. Add some more options for the offensive line. I think we already offered 2 tackles. I think we had 2 guys that were gems, but maybe only 2 or 3 between guard and center added on the board. So we'll come back over here to South Carolina, and we'll go for that guard here, Ben Lemur out of Duncan, South Carolina. Also like the D tackle up here. I wish we had room to add him. William Malik, 6'5", 324. I think we'll go over to D tackle. We already offered Shockey. That was the only guy we had at D tackle, so we probably do need to make space. We're 8th here for Delvin Jackson. Let's scout him. 80 speed, not the best there for pass coverage, although he does have that 77 zone. But he does come back as a bust, so I think just with that, we're already 8th on his board, so kind of a ways to go for him. We'll come back here to South Carolina. We'll just go to D tackle. Sort by interest, get him added to the board. That's weird. So for recommended, it doesn't show him, but then when we go over to any state, it does have him. I don't know why it wouldn't have him for recommended. We're first, on his interest board, so that's kind of a weird one there. So seeing as how we already offered Shockey, I think we'll go ahead and offer Malik as well, just to give it a level playing field there for our D tackles, which now leaves us with 50 hours. And I mean, we could really either focus on one position. We can get Fournette and Clapp fully scouted here, I think, with enough to offer one of them. Or we could just offer 10 scholarships, at 5 points each, which I think might be better for us in the beginning of recruiting. But like I was saying, it's just really hard to differentiate who you want to offer. I guess we will offer Dre here, that gem. JUCO out of Kingsland, Georgia. Then I have a DN/D tackle. He kind of is a D tackle too, which I kind of forgot, at 285 pounds. Linebackers, we only have 3 on the board now. I think we'll scout Kell here. He's a JUCO guy. 81 pursuit, 82 tackle, only 53 zone coverage. So I don't know about that. He is a run stopper though, but out of a JUCO, that's another trait that kind of, kills the vibe. We'll go ahead and offer Swaim here, run stopper out of Atlanta. We'll offer D'Imperio, which gives us only 3 more scholarships. That kind of went quick. I think we'll just go ahead and offer these 3 corners. Really, no method to the madness, just kind of free balling it, if you will. But that's going to be our opening recruiting board. A lot, will be uncovered there once we get into week 1. We'll be able to scout a little bit more, see who, pulls away from each other. But go by position. Fournette and Clapp, really kind of just want one of them at running back. Could stand to add 2 in this class. Cook we already offered as a gem. And then we'll try to get one of these receiving backs in Wiley, Pitts, or Mondo. We have a couple fullbacks we're not going to worry about quite yet. At receiver, we have Shaq Bouye, Ryan Rexsteiner. We offered Christian Sweezy, the gem route runner from Jacksonville. 2 blocking, or we have a possession and a blocking tight end here. Going to scout them, see who comes out better. We did scout these tackles here. Thad Johnson and Donovan Cormier both come back as gems, pass protector and power tendencies. Probably want 1 or 2 interior linemen here. Going to have to scout some of these guys, see who pulls away at the end. I think we're pretty set. As I said, Dre can maybe kick inside a D tackle if we need that, but what was his speed with that? His speed only at 65, so probably not a D end in our 4-3, 4-2-5. So we might have misplayed this D tackle situation, as we also did offer Shockey and Malik, but worst case, we end up with 1, 2, maybe even 3 of them. Delvin Swaim going to have to scout these linebackers. Only 3 on the board. We probably want to add a few more, but if I recall correctly, we had some JUCO options we can go back and check out. Corners, we're going to scout these guys in week 1, although we already offered all of them, so I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. And then at safety, 3 guys to the board, 2 run support, 1 hybrid. Pretty much all Georgia, Florida guys. We had that one guy, 1 or 2 from South Carolina that we were able to add to the board. So didn't have much structure there, kind of just went off the cuff, but sometimes that's the best way to go about it. Our Kennesaw State Owls have had the 51st recruiting class, and then we had 45th this past year. Now looking at our schedule, we're going to open at home against our ranked Fresno State team, the Bulldogs, Mountain West champions the first 2 years in this dynasty, but they now move to the Pac-12. We'll be at Georgia State in week 2 for that rivalry game. We just barely beat them last season for our first win of the year. Entered that one at 0-3. but now we'll match up against them a little bit earlier in the year. In week 3, we'll have a home game against Charlotte, who was 11-3, 7-1 in conference, as they did make the AAC championship, but fell to SMU, who would make the college football playoff. And then this is the only game for the 2026 season that is officially slated on the Kennesaw State schedule in present day. So we are going to follow up with that in a home-and-home with Arkansas State. We hosted the Red Wolves last season, and they stole that one in the second half, beat us by a good bit. We'll look for revenge at Centennial Bank Stadium this season. And then we'll get into conference play. We'll host Louisiana Tech for the conference opener. The Bulldogs only 2 wins last season, but they did defeat us on Senior Day. That game was absolutely insane. Highly recommend going back to that. Only a couple episodes back, maybe 2 or 3 episodes back at this point, but it was a back and forth game there in the fourth quarter, and they won in the most heartbreaking of ways. Definitely have to go back and check that out. We'll have a bye before really hitting the stretch of this season, as we'll have at FIU, beat them in Miami last season, so I don't like to see that. We were at FIU last year, so they should be at Fifth Third Stadium. We should be hosting them this year. Same thing here with Louisiana Tech. We hosted them last season, and still we host them again this year. Same story with FIU. So I don't know if that has to do anything with, how we did conference realignment. I don't know if that messed up the whole algorithm of who hosts, but both of these games off. We were versus Louisiana Tech and at FIU last season, but it looks like it's going to be that way again this year. Hopefully it sorts itself out next year. Then it'll be versus Liberty. The defending conference champions will be versus App State, new to the Conference USA, as they come over from the Sun Belt. 7-7 last year, lost there in the conference championship, as they now join the Conference USA along with Louisiana. They'll be at Jacksonville State. Also, we're at Jack State last year. We won that one. They were 8-0, undefeated, ranked, and we went in there, handed them a loss. Biggest win so far for our Owls in this dynasty. Then it'll be at UConn, another newcomer here in the Conference USA, as we'll have quite the trek there to East Harvard. They'll be versus Middle Tennessee State for Senior Day. The Blue Raiders 10-4 last season. We have yet to beat them here in this dynasty. And then we'll finish out at Western Kentucky, as this year to schedule pretty tough. The non-conference games not all that crazy, although we are going to open with a ranked opponent. I still wanted to keep them pretty light. I mean, Charlotte and Fresno State definitely not, weak opponents by any means. And then Georgia State, a rivalry game, and Arkansas State, a game already scheduled in present day. So we're just sticking with it, but I think maybe going into next season, hopefully we're more than a one-star school at that point, and we'll be ready to take on some stiffer competition. But with that, we'll now officially advance into the Year 3 season, and we'll take a look at the All-Americans, the Heisman Watch, the top 25, and all that good stuff. So we are now number 1 for Thad Johnson as we pass Middle Tennessee State, although both of our teams have offered him. For Dominic Sledge, we fall down after Memphis is the only team to offer him. We go up number 1 for Jared D'Imperio after offering him. No other team has yet. Earl Strauss, we go up to number 2, but trailing FAU as the Owls offer him. And we're now number 1 here for Willie Malik as he gets an offer along with Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, and Appalachian State. So battling for him with those Carolina schools, one of which is now part of the Conference USA in App State. But now we'll get into all the things going around the nation, the top 25, the All-Americans, everything going on. So Texas is going to open against Ohio State. I believe they opened last year, probably a home-and-home. Texas entering at number 1, Ohio State at 18, as they missed the college football playoff, although they did win the national championship back in year 1 of this dynasty, which did align with present day, as of course they just took down Notre Dame. Oregon, number 5 in the nation, going to open at Oregon State, as we're just kind of going through the top stories here. Michigan State going to open against a ranked Notre Dame team in that rivalry matchup, and then Washington State will open at number 20, Arizona. So we'll now go over look at the official top 25 here to enter this Year 3 season, as the Longhorns enter at number 1. They stood at number 1 throughout the course of Year 2 most of the way, and they lost there at the end, lost to Texas A&M in the season finale, and then lost to them again in the SEC championship as the Aggies secured the number 1 seed, although they were knocked out in the Final Four. They enter at number 2, Tennessee at number 3. So the top 3 here, all SEC schools. And then we have Clemson, number 4. And actually, I think it was the Tigers who entered as the number 1 seed in the playoff last year. I'm not sure about that, but I think Clemson was number 1. And I believe they were also in the Final Four. Oregon enters at number 5 as they were defeated by Penn State, as the Nittany Lions entered the season at number 7 despite winning the national championship. Their first since I think like 85. SMU here at number 6. They've had a really strong going there in the ACC to start. Lost in the championship game to Clemson last season. Virginia Tech, another ACC team here at number 8. Kansas State, I believe the reigning Big 12 champs. Florida at number 10. Colorado, Kentucky, Maryland. They were also in the playoff last year. Got rocked by Oregon by like 50 at the Rose Bowl in that second round game. Virginia at 14, and Fresno State, the team we're going to open against, a 3.5-star school, now part of the Pac-12. They're on a base 4-3 and a multiple offense. Louisiana, the top team in the Conference USA, newly added to our conference, reigning Sun Belt champs now in the Conference USA, running a pistol and a base 3-4. Notre Dame at 17, Ohio State at 18, Stanford, Arizona there rounding at the top 20, and then USC, Auburn, Utah, UCF, and then Alabama all the way down at 25. And other teams receiving votes include North Texas, Oklahoma, Liberty of our conference, Temple, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arkansas, UConn, who is also part of the Conference USA, and Charlotte, who we're going to face, I think, in week 3. Now for the Heisman Watch, Jeremiah Smith opens as the favorite. He ended last season with an even 1,000 yards and led the country with like 20 yards per catch. Just absurd production. Nico Iamaleava enters as a top quarterback. Still one more year of eligibility, but at 95 overall, you would think he's going to enter the draft as the top quarterback. Carnell Tate joins Smith up here, 2 wide receivers for the Buckeyes. Antonio Williams of Clemson, another receiver. So 3 of the 5 here in the preseason Heisman Watch are receivers. And then Connor Wagman here on for his senior season there with the Aggies as they try to secure a national championship. Like I did last season, I totally forgot to take a look at the preseason All-Americans before advancing here into week 0. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to look at that, but we will come over and look at the top players overall-wise throughout the nation. And Jeremiah Smith at number 1, Iamaleava at number 2, and Tate here at number 3, Antonio Williams at number 4. So 4 of the top players here overall rating-wise find themselves in the preseason Heisman Watch, but that's probably going to change. Gavin Sawchuk here of Oklahoma at 95. Nick Anderson, Oklahoma at 94. So 2 very good offensive players here for the Sooners. Jambres Dubar of Boise State. So they produce Ashton Jeanty, and then now Dubar coming up at 94 overall. Still a year of eligibility. Darius Taylor transferred from Minnesota to Michigan back in the year 1 offseason. And look at this. Danielius Johnson at 93 overall is the top-rated defensive player in the nation, the top-rated non-power 4 player as well. Tamira Duro-Jai of Florida State, still even with him, I guess, at 93 overall. Also, Sammy Brown here, middle linebacker of Clemson. But what a feat here by Danielius Johnson at 93 overall, among the best defensive players in the nation, set for his senior season, commanding our Owls defense. Dylan Raiola here of Nebraska, a junior now. Kelby Collins of Florida, as that'll do it for 93 overalls. Now we'll just kind of skim through the positions. Iamaleava, head and shoulders the best quarterback here over Raiola, Wagman, Noah Fafita. This guy ended with like 44 passing touchdowns last season. We'll actually take a look to just 2 interceptions. So I think he's my dark horse to win the Heisman at 92 overall. 44 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then going back to the season prior, 31-3. So that's 75 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. What is that? 15-1 if my quick math is correct, completing like 66%, adding a little bit of impact on the ground as well. So Noah Fafita, this dude is a beast at 5'10", 195 there for the Wildcats as they enter this season as a ranked team. Avery Johnson of Kansas State was in the Heisman Watch at points last year. Jackson Arnold here for the Sooners has plenty of weapons to work with. Malachi Nelson of Boise State, a good backfield there with Dubar. Arch Manning at quarterback for Texas, still a year of eligibility, found himself leading the Heisman Watch for a good bit last year. A.J. Maddox of Ole Miss, Cade Fox, USC, as we're now into the 88 overalls. Dante Moore of Oregon, and Austin Simmons transfers to Ohio State from Ole Miss. And Ohio State has quite the loaded quarterback room. We'll actually take a look at that. It's pretty absurd. I think they have 4 quarterbacks of 85 overall or so. And Simmons had a very good year last year with the Rebels. Just under 3,000 passing yards, 21-5. Touchdowns to interception, over 60% completion. Decent rushing impact. And we will just go over to the Buckeyes real quick because they have to have some guys in the transfer portal, you would think, with what they're currently set up with. So they have Simmons, who we just looked at. Lincoln Kineholes, a 4-star with star Dev. And he played a little bit last year, 65%, over 400, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. But it looks like they're going to go with Simmons. And they have Aaron Nolan down here, former 4-star recruit, star Dev. I don't know if he's even seen a snap on offense. I could be wrong. Oh, he actually started all of last year, or at least most of it, with 3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. But still, they seek out Simmons on the transfer portal, which I feel like now Nolan is going to transfer from College Park, Georgia. So, I mean, he is the Georgia kid. Maybe he's someone Aaron Noland we look at in next year's transfer portal. But that's, projecting a lot. But then going down here, Jeremy Hexlinski, another quarterback like Simmons, who they bring in the transfer portal, and he has more eligibility than Simmons, but still, such overkill here. They have 3 redshirt sophomores. We didn't even talk about Julian Sion right here, as he was a former 5-star recruit, so even more prestige, we'll say, than any of these other guys. So you got to think at least, a few of these quarterbacks are going to transfer from Ohio State. Like, this is insane that we didn't even get to Manuel Mandarino and Pat Stanford, 2 guys who were generated in our own recruiting classes. Alec Wilkins here. All these guys, redshirt freshmen or younger. 82 overall, 81, 79. Mandarino, an impact dev at a 4-star recruit. And then Stanford has a ton of physical and mental abilities already. Star dev at 5. He was a 5-star recruit, so probably one of the best, probably a top 3 quarterback from last year's recruiting class. Now they get Wilkins. He's probably a 5-star as well. 5-star with star dev. So 3 of these quarterbacks are 5 stars. A ton of them with star devs. So I'm not sure what Ohio State's doing, but they're just taking away quality quarterbacks from everybody else, it seems. But we'll just look at other positions. Don't want to focus too much on the Buckeyes. Go blue now. Running back Gavin Sawchuk, the top one here out of Oklahoma. James Dubar, who we saw. Darius Taylor. Rodney Hill from Arkansas. Justice Haynes, Alabama. Amari Daniels, a bunch of SEC guys, although Jaheim White now from the Big 12 there of West Virginia. Jeremiah Love still hanging around here in this dynasty. Caleb Hicks, another Oklahoma guy. Taylor Tatum, another Oklahoma guy. So they have 3 backs at 90 overall or better. Another Notre Dame guy, Kedron Young. A.J. Allen of Miami. You have P.J. Martin here of South Alabama at 90 overall, the top non-Power 5 running back. Top fullback here, Kanye Udo, 87 overall there of Army. At receiver, we saw most of these guys at the top. Smith, Tate, Williams, Nick Anderson, Mika Hudson from Texas Tech, only a true junior. Jonte Cook, the second of Texas. Braylon Staley, still just a redshirt sophomore here at 91 overall. Shelton Sampson Jr., redshirt junior at 6'4", 193. Jordan Anthony, Arkansas with a good running back. Wide receiver tandem, Zachariah Branch of USC. Tyler Brown, so it looks like Clemson maybe has the best wide receiver duo in the country. Chris Culliver of UNC. Jalen Moss, Notre Dame. Ryan Williams, true junior season now for him. Eugene Wilson III of Florida. That does it for the 90 overalls. And the top tight end here, Jamari Johnson, we're going to see in week 1 when we take on Fresno State. As he actually did transfer to Fresno State from Louisville. So he spent year 1 in Louisville, caught 58 passes, 6 touchdowns. Transfers to Fresno State, closer to home there to Inglewood, California. 43 catches, 497 for 4 touchdowns, but does have that blocking archetype, so he makes an impact in every phase at 6'5", 265, still have a year of eligibility left. And he's going to be a handful for us in the next episode. Matt Reagan at 91 overall, the second tight end in the nation. Benjamin Brahmer of Iowa State at 90. Same here with Lawson Lucky of Georgia. They just always have a good tight end every single season so far. Ty Washington of Arkansas. The Razorbacks seem to have a very good offensive core. Not sure what they're working with at quarterback, though. Marcellus Turpin here of Texas, an auto-generated player as a true sophomore at 88 overall there for the Longhorns. Moving over to offensive line, Ernest Green III, the top left tackle, transfers to UCLA from Georgia, as Georgia has Monroe Freeling here at 90 overall, the second best left tackle. Cage Casey of Boise State, so the Broncos going to be in play maybe for a college football playoff spot. Miami, Michigan, some guys up here. Florida Atlantic has Mauricio Hines, a redshirt sophomore at 88 overall, nice player for them. Over to left guard, we have Caden Green of Missouri at 92, leads the way. Justin Evans, Nebraska. Noah Dunham from Fresno State. We'll see him in week 1. Take a look at him real quick. 91 overall, pass protector. 94 pass block finesse, 95 pass block power. 88 lead block, 93 strength as a run blocker. Nothing special. So I really don't get that. Like, how can the overall run block be just a 70, but the finesse and power, be there in the low to mid 80s? I think he was a transfer as well. Does transfer, from Washington State. Looks like he started last season, gave up just 1 sack all year. Definitely lives up to that pass protector billing. Marquis Anderson out of South Carolina. So look at the right. It says he's 86 overall, but over here, when we sort it, he says 91 overall. So is that just because of coaching boosts, I guess? He's bumped up so high. Trent Ramsey of California, Logan Reichert. Going over to center, the top guy here, Iapani Lalolu out of Honolulu. There of Oregon, Peter McLean, 90 overall of Akron. Maybe the best pound-for-pound player there in the MAC. Jason Zondamela of Florida, Mark Naboo Jr. of A&M, DJ Chester, LSU, a bunch of SEC guys up here. We got Isaiah Bullerdick here of Charlotte, 88 overall. We'll see him, I think, in week 3. Now at right guard, redshirt freshman here. So this guy's auto-generated. Evan Latimer of Western Kentucky. So we'll see him as well. An in-conference guy. Impact Dev, 3-star out of Akron, Ohio. And already 90 overall. I got to think he's fully capped. Wow, still has a lot of room to grow. Pass blocking is capped out though, but IQ, footwork, power, quickness, especially run blocking, plenty of room to grow at 90 overall. Wow, so this guy's going to be a stud, already a stud. Maybe going to be the best interior lineman in college football when he's up there as an upperclassman. Mo Clipper Jr., another Charlotte interior lineman here. So they have it going there at center and right guard. Zach Rice of North Carolina, Will Saxton, USM. At right tackle, Francis Mayagoa. He transferred to Liberty. I forget where he transferred from, but of course, he has to go to Liberty of all schools, the reigning conference champion. So yeah, he transfers from Miami to Liberty as the Flames looking to win their third conference championship in 4 years. Jake Taylor of Oklahoma, Jacarius Peak, NC State, redshirt sophomore here, Josiah Thompson of South Carolina. Now on defense, left end, we talked about Tamia Durojayi of Florida State, 93 overall. Left end, Logan Fano of Utah, 92 overall. Dominic Nichols of Michigan, redshirt sophomore. Couple true juniors here, Ujla McCray and Armando Blunt. Vontre Malone of Tulsa. Josh Lacusa of Miami, Ohio. So 2 non-power 4 guys. We have Damon Clowney here of Charlotte. We're going to see him. Got to think he's probably related to Jadeveon Clowney. TJ Bush of Liberty. He's been a force against us in our 2 matchups with him so far in this dynasty. 89 overall, one of the best left ends in the country. At right end, Kelby Collins of Florida leads the way. Boubacar Traore of Notre Dame. Jordan Hall, Georgia. Amari Williams, Florida State. Elijah Rushing here rounding out the 90 overalls. Bryson Jennings of Liberty. So they have one of the best D-end combos in the nation with Jennings and TJ Bush. They add Francis Mayagoa at offensive tackle. They lost Caden Salter, who was their Heisman finalist quarterback, but you got to think the Flames have the coaching, the foundation in place to make another run at a conference championship. At D tackle, DJ Hicks leads the way of A&M, and they also have Gabriel Brownlow Dindy. So they have the top 2 D tackles going to make another run and try and get a natty. Terrence Green of Oregon, Tyler Rothrock, Ole Miss, Keanu Tanuvasa of Utah, Cameron Hamilton of Tulane, with Charles Collins, another Oregon D tackle. They have a good combo. Eli Hall of Liberty. We're seeing a bunch of Liberty Flames here among the top players at these positions. Go over to linebackers now. Gerard Smith II for Kentucky, run stopper. Joe Phillips, run stopper of Auburn. Gabe Williams, pass coverage, Virginia Tech. Jamal Anderson, I think he won linebacker of the year last year, as Clemson has a very good linebacker unit. Blake Purchase, Oregon, along there with Tatum Tuioti. 2 left outside linebackers there for the Ducks. Middle linebackers, Sammy Brown of Clemson. Danius Johnson of Kennesaw State represent. DeMarcus Riddick, Auburn, a true junior at 92 overall. Blake Nicholson, Florida State. Nova Francois, Tennessee. Josiah Galvin, Stanford. Ohio State, Arvell Reese. Kamara Mathuti of Oregon. The Ducks and the Buckeyes going to make a run this year. Sean Murphy, Florida State. We're just going to go through the top 90. A lot of 90 overall guys here. Tareen York, Texas A&M. Kingston Viliamu, Asa, Notre Dame. Tristan Jernigan, Texas A&M. Jordan Lockhart, another A&M guy. A bunch of true juniors here. Then George Balance, Virginia Tech. And the last 90 overall here, Joshua Hagan of Notre Dame. Tanner Ferris of Ohio State, the top right outside linebacker. Lincoln Tuioti, Mariner of Air Force, 88 overall. Tony Rojas of Penn State. And then we have Gregory Bostic here, run stopper of Oregon, another auto-generated player from one of our recruiting classes, a 4-star there from Seattle, Washington. Elite development for Oregon. Maxed out as a run stopper, but pass rush, pass coverage, IQ, a ton of room to grow there for that linebacker. Now we're getting to DBs as we're rounding out, this look at around the nation. Roderick Pleasant, the top guy here, along with Malik Muhammad of Texas. Jaden Bellamy, Ellis Robinson, the 4th, Georgia. D'Angelo Pons, we saw him last year, still here for those Indiana Hoosiers. Xavier Bryce of North Texas, Ashton Stamps, LSU. Kamari McLean, Earl Little, the 2nd. Javon Thomas, he won the Thorpe Award, best DB in the nation last season, as he's back for the Aggies. Going over to safeties, Kamari Ramsey, USC, top guy here at free safety. Michael Boganowski of Oklahoma. Jesse Anderson, Tracy Revels of Bowling Green. Khalil Barnes, Clemson. Strong safety, Derek Williams Jr. of Texas. Ken Willis of Cincinnati. Callan Jackson, LSU. Tracy Bennett, FAU. Aaron Flowers, Oregon. And then another auto-generated guy here, Kyle Welsh of Texas at 87, true sophomore. So at this point, we have just the true sophomores and lower are auto-generated. Everything higher than that mostly real life players, but of course there's some of JUCOs mixed in there. We have now gone and advanced through week 0, so we'll just take a look at some of those scores. As you know, it's a pretty low slate of games, not many to really go through, but Oregon there wins the Civil War 37-10 against Oregon State. Meeting here in week 1, UW wins 44-0 over FCS Northwest. Notre Dame takes that rivalry game against Michigan State 29-7. Wisconsin over Pitt 31-17, a pretty good matchup there. Iowa State wins by 2 scores, and UConn, their first game as a member of the Conference USA, they fall against Indiana 24-21. I guess we'll take a look at this box score. Indiana was down 21-7 in the fourth quarter, outscored the Huskies by 17. Taven Jackson, their new starting quarterback, after I think it was Tyler Cherry transferred away. Nick Evers here for UConn, 85 overall quarterback, 273, 3 touchdowns. Nothing doing, though, on the ground. Zachary Droughty, 6 catches, 162, 2 touchdowns. Going to have to remember him for our matchup against them later on. Cam Chadwick, 12 tackles, their slot corner, 2 sacks for Matt Hoffman. No interceptions, so UConn, pretty good day there, minus, their impact in the running game. But their quarterback had a pretty good day. Army wins 35-17 over UMass, now in the MAC. Texas Tech wins by a touchdown over Colorado State. West Virginia, a blowout win over ECU. And Maryland wins 14-10 over Temple. The Terps, a playoff win last season, but not the most convincing win here in week 0 to start this season. Old Dominion, a big shutout against an FCS team, whereas Eastern Michigan won by just 3 over FCS East. Stanford, a huge win against Hawaii. Sam Houston, part of our conference, gets blown out there by Tulsa. Arizona falls 31-29, so our boy Noah Fafita did not get it done here in week 1. We'll check out his numbers. 389, 3-1, touchdown, interception. So already, through one game, he's already thrown half of his interception total from last season. I don't think there was many more down here. Boise State, now in the Pac-12, wins 49-34 over former conference foe New Mexico. And then number 3 Tennessee loses in the opener 38-14 from Nebraska. The Cornhuskers absolutely dominated in this one. Dylan Raiola, 91 overall junior, 199 passing, 1 touchdown. And Nico Iamaleava, a Heisman favorite at this point, but did not make the best case for himself. Just 240 passing, 1 touchdown, 57%. As the Volunteers, a huge loss here. They enter as a top 5 team and fall here in week 1. Then Texas wins 27-24 over Ohio State, outscoring the Buckeyes there 17-7 in the fourth quarter. Transfer quarterback Austin Simmons here from Ole Miss goes 274, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, less than 50% completion. What about the receivers? They have stud receivers on this team. Cardinal Tate, 5 for 75. It's Brandon Innes, though, the senior from Hollywood, Florida, 3 for 107, 1 touchdown. But Jeremiah Smith, the Heisman favorite, or one of the Heisman favorites at this point, just 1 catch as he's blanked there by Texas. So the Longhorns, a tremendous week 1 win as they entered as the top team in the nation, but Tennessee entered at number 3, and they fall there as well. So we'll get a little recruiting update here to close this episode. We already kind of went in depth, of course, when we assembled our board, but now after a week, into the season, after simming week 0, we have now more clear of a plan at what we're going to do. And I think Thad Johnson is going to be our priority here. The gem right tackle, power tendency out of Tifton, Georgia, 6'7", 319, and I really like that 88 strength to 66 speed. Decent blocking traits to start, and then coming over here to Donovan Cormier, only 71 strength. I didn't even notice that before. The blocking traits are a little bit better to start than Johnson, but at 6'4", 320, maybe a guy who can kick to the inside, but that 71 strength is pretty worrisome. Definitely going to have him hit the weight room, but Thad Johnson looks to be a very good tackle. Has that size you like as well. Really just battling here with Middle Tennessee State as the only teams to offer him so far. Still have some SEC schools there trailing Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, but no offers. Cormier an offer so far from UAB. And we took a little bit different of a focus this year. We kind of went all in, scouting these guys, offering scholarships, which is why we don't really have much resources to allocate at this point. Only a couple guys here with 10, a few here with 15 allocated, but we have kind of assembled who we're going to target at each position. A lot of these guys were so close, we really couldn't tell who we wanted to pursue over the other. So we have offered, I guess at this point, 19 scholarships as they all are sorted here, but we still need to go into we'll just go by position at this point. We still need to dip into quarterback. I think next week we'll start scouting these guys, all of them though. No rush, none of these guys with a scholarship offer, as UAB, Kennesaw State, the top 2 for all these quarterbacks, so we'll see how that's going to transpire. Marvin McDonald, a late addition We did remove a few guys off the board after scouting, after it became clear that we were going to maybe pursue other players. So we have him at 80% right now, 68 speed, 83 short, 68 deep, 69 under pressure, 77 on the run, and 74 play action. I think at this point we only have improvisers and scramblers on the roster, so I thought it might be prudent to maybe go after a field general, get that different archetype into our quarterback room. But Greg Clapp here, scrambler, Keenan Fournette, scrambler, but all these guys out of Georgia. So we'll complete McDonald's scouting next week and then go in on Fournette and Clapp and kind of see what quarterback we prefer out of the three. At running back, J.D. Cook came back as a gem, only team to offer him so far. Even though we're not getting any friction from other schools at this point, we'll just stick with 15. Like his skill set, 92 speed, 91 acceleration, 83 change of direction, 85 agility, 78 juke, and carrying, 76 spin and vision. So I like that skill set. Also an athlete. Then we had Daryl Mondeau. We offered him as well. No points at this point just because no one else has offered him, but I've expressed, mightily throughout the course of this dynasty so far the need to get a receiving back into our program, and I think Mondeau can be that guy. 90 speed, acceleration, 88 agility with 75 catching, 73 short route. Good vision as well. And then Orlando Wiley, we did scout him as well. Another receiving back, but at just 86 speed, that kind of is enough. When you compare him to Mondeau, Mondeau definitely looks like the better player. So we'll leave Wiley on the board just as a backup plan, but I think Cook and Mondeau, the backs, we're going to heavily pursue. We did just take those fullbacks off the board just to create space. We could always go back for a fullback later on. At receiver, we scouted Shaq Bouye here out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Came back as a gem, so we went ahead and offered him, giving him some points as we have past Marshall now at this point. 90 speed, 94 acceleration, 76 deep route, 74 spec, 73 catch in traffic, 71 release. So pretty well rounded as a receiver. Already very good deep route. And between the receivers we brought in, in the first 2 years of this dynasty, as they grow in the next offseason or two, if we can bring in a guy like Bouye, I think that's a very good receiving core that we've built here. And I'm going to look into expanding our playbook for more 4 receiver sets. I'm playing with the USC playbook in my other dynasty, so I think I'm going to implement some of those principles and concepts. Now at tight end, we did find a gem here. Thomas Kendricks, possession guy, 6'5", 232 out of Cartersville, Georgia. As a possession guy, we don't see that speed, but the catching trait's pretty good to start. The agility and acceleration, though, they're in the high 70s. Wish that was a little bit better. But we did get a vertical threat gem, Joe Velasco, in last year's cycle. So if we can counter that and complement it with getting a possession guy in this year's class, I think that might bode well for us. We have 2 blocking guys down here, Damian Sledge. Mixon's a possession guy. I do want to get a blocking guy in, but Sledge's traits don't look like anything great. The 70 run block's pretty good, but lead block at just 61. And that's kind of weird. It has pass block finesse labeled twice and also a pass block power out there twice. Is that how it always is? I never noticed that before. But anyway, we'll move on. Kendrick's going to be the guy we target. Maybe we'll dip back in at a later point. Maybe try and get a blocking guy in. We already talked about tackle. And now here on the interior line, we have Deion Feely, Ben Lemur. None of these guys I don't think we've scouted yet. Shaq Henry, I think we went back and added him as well out of Alabama. We went back and looked at Alabama, a state I totally forgot to look at in our initial look, but there weren't too many guys that we were kind of interested in. But Shaq Henry, an athlete out of Hoover, Alabama. Who remembers Hoover from those 2-a-days back on MTV back in the day? For anyone who watched that show. At this point, that must have been like close to 20 years ago. But we haven't gotten into interior offensive line quite yet. We're going to try and look at quarterbacks next week. And then we'll maybe try and dip in and scout some of these guys at guard and center. But none of them offered a scholarship yet. All of them still in their top 10. Henry and Ion Badeo both have the agile power there for Isaacs, agile for Feely, and Lemur. So the only power tendency we have here is Isaacs. Everybody else at guard or center has that agile going on. And then I kind of dropped the ball here at D-end, I think, D-line, as we did offer Gage Pitts. He got an offer from Arkansas State, so we went ahead and scouted him, offered him, just because he gives us a little bit different of a play style with that speed rusher. Otherwise, we have just power rushers, run stoppers here. We offered 3 D tackles. I don't think we talked about Brian Hurt. I added him late, and I'm not sure what prompted me to offer him. We already have Malik here, who has offers from 3 other schools as well. They're out of Irmo, South Carolina. We offered Stanley Shockey here. Blindly didn't scout him at all. So I'm not sure what prompted me to add Brian Hurt here, especially with Emmanuel Dre, who we offered the JUCO DN, but at 285 pounds, 86 strength. Might be more of an interior guy. But John Hacker here, 60% scouted with 85 strength, 83 pursuit. So you love that strength. 74 speed, not the worst for a power rusher. So at this point, we pretty much offered like 3 or 4 D tackles, kind of overkill there. We didn't need to do all that. Brian Hurt here does come back as a bust, but 84 strength, 80 hit power, 66 block shed with 70 power move, 71 play rec. So the trait's not the worst, but probably just doesn't have, the biggest ceiling, the most room to grow. So we'll see what happens here at D tackle, but Willie Malik looks to be the best at 90 strength, 69 block shed and play rec, 76 pursuit, 78 hit power, and he's being heavily pursued by other schools, including conference foe now, Appalachian State. At linebacker, Delvin Swaim, run stopper out of Atlanta. The 55 zone is really just what does me in. Like, a lot of these off-ball guys just don't have good coverage ratings, unless you could really, find that pass coverage specialist. Even a field general all the time doesn't really have one. So I think we're out on Delvin Swaim. I don't really see, nothing over the top. The 82 pursuit's pretty good. 85 acceleration, not bad as an athlete. Decent play rec to start, but we don't really need that run stopper tendency. App State offered him. Charlotte already offered him. And then we have kind of went in at middle linebacker, trying to find that coverage guy, that off-ball guy, the field general. So we added Nicholas Newcomb here. We said we really weren't going to target JUCOs or 2-stars here. Also Leo Wright, a 2-star field general we scouted, but only 57 zone, 67 block shed, 76 speed. We'll keep him around, but I don't think we're going to be as aggressive as you see the teams there offered him. Georgia Southern, USF, CMU. Nicholas Newcomb, haven't scouted him, but I think we'll get to middle linebacker, more of a priority next week over quarterback and interior line. As we also have George Terrell here out of Springdale, Arkansas. So we really dug deep here for the linebackers. Although he does have a second on his board, Memphis has offered him, so we're probably going to have to get in on him. We already offered Jared D'Imperio there in the preseason. Only team so far to offer him, haven't scouted him. Ezekiel Dennis here, run stopper from Nashville, Tennessee. I like the speed a lot at 86 speed, 84 agility. The zone at 70, I like that to start with. Good strength, pursuit, tackle, good block shed. So if all else fails, I think Dennis is going to emerge as our top target here at linebacker, unless Newcomb or Terrell maybe come back a little bit better than at corner. We just offered all 3 of these guys blindly, but we have come back to scout them all. Marcus Butler with 93 speed, 69 man, and then Earl Strauss. He's a zone tendency out of Jacksonville, Florida. Has a good combination there, 74 zone, 67 man, and pretty much, meets the requisites I look for when it comes to athleticism there, with the speed, acceleration, and agility, all there in the high 80s at least. But he does have an offer from FAU, the only other corner here out of the 3 to have another offer. So we have man-to-man, zone, and slot. So we pretty much covered our bases here. Nathan Potts, 89 speed, 90 agility, but just 59 zone, 64 man. The pursuit and play rec is up there. And with slot corners, they typically, I feel like, don't have the best coverage ratings to start. But I feel like they'll have that good, agility, change of direction, good pursuit, tackle, that kind of stuff. So I think I kind of like all these guys. Not sure who I like more than the other, but we have just offered all of them. Just going to kind of go ghost at this point and see if Strauss really the only one we have to worry about at this point, as we are one for Potts and Butler. Their only offer, but Strauss is getting some attention here from FAU, so you're going to have to monitor that. Coming over to safety, George Whitehart, we have him offered with 10 points or 10 hours at this point. As Marshall, the other team to offer him, we passed them this week. 90 speed, 89 agility, 64 zone, 70 man with 75 pursuit. Decent traits for the hybrid safety out of Marietta, Georgia. Probably just one safety in this class, and it was Slim Pickens. He's the only safety we're currently targeting. But that was just a quick look at our recruiting board. Just wanted to give you another update before we kind of delve into this year 3 season. Very excited for the things to come, and I'm hoping to, fly to new heights here with our Owls in this year 3 season. But this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. Thank you so much for hanging around with this preseason episode to paint the picture, to preview what to expect this upcoming season. We now have 2 recruiting classes under our belt, so the more we go along here, of course, the more we're going to have our own touch on this team, bringing our own guys as we climb up the Conference USA and the college football national landscape at that, as we're setting our win goal here for 7 wins this year. We're going to try and double it. We're going to try and increase it by 2 from our 5 last year. Follow the trend as we went from 3 to 5. And now let's go up to 7. Let's make a bowl game, and let's win a bowl game here this season. But as always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.